Hey there, Cinephiles. It's time for my top 10 films of 2024. I saw 99 of this year's releases, which I know so close to 100, but I'm sure I'll actually make that number by the time this video is out. And although I wouldn't say this was the strongest year for film, I still wouldn't call it a bad year either. But anyways, let's get into my honorable mentions for this list. First one I have is A Real Pain. Kieran Culkin in this, utterly fantastic, truly. Not much to say, but just watch the movie for him alone. The next one I have is The Brutalist. A wonderful score, a wonderful lead performance in Adrian Brody, and the production design and how beautiful this movie looks despite it being a sub $10 million budget. Extremely impressive, honestly. And the final honorable mention, and the one that hurts the most, The Substance. Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. What else can I say? Truly, what else can I say? But all right, with those honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into my top 10 films of 2024. Coming in at number 10, I have the only animated movie on this list, and that's The Wild Robot. This is a beautiful tale about a robot who just kind of crash lands in the wild and basically fosters a duckling. Truly, a beautiful movie that just hits you in the emotions and is wonderfully about motherhood and also perseverance and so many other things. And it looks gorgeous too, like the style of animation and the visuals they're able to pull off with it. I was so glad I got to see this on the big screen, and it's so easily the best animated movie of the entire year. If this or Memoir of a Snail doesn't win best animated feature at the Oscars, I will be very mad. Looking at you, Inside Out too. At number 9, I have Nosferatu, from the great horror director that is Robert Eggers. Of course, his Christmas movie was going to be on this list. I've never seen the original or the 90s version of Nosferatu, but this film, it's so eerie and gothically horrific and beautiful and unnerving. Truly, my only gripes with the film is some of the performances and just my connection with those characters. I do wish we got Anya Taylor-Joy in this. I think that would have brought this over the top and made me love this movie even more. But the atmosphere that Eggers is able to bring to this film and just how beautiful it looks, the shadows are amazing, the cinematography, everything about this movie is wonderful. And Bill Skarsgård as Nosferatu himself, unrecognizable to the best degree. Coming in at number 8, I have Snack Shack. This follows two boys who run a snack shack in the middle of the summer at a community pool. Fun, great little time, wonderful comedy, fantastic performances. Shout out Gabriel LaBelle. This is a career that I am so excited for. And this is just that type of movie that gives you a little bit Linklater, but it also gives you just a throwback type of movie that you would love. You feel like it would have came out back in the 90s or something, or at least the early 2000s. A great, fantastic time that most people aren't talking about enough, and it's just so good. It really is. At number 7, I have Hitman. Speaking of Linklater, here's his film for the year. I hated how this movie was coming out though. It was in the theaters for a week at most, and yet it has a star in Glenn Powell, and Adria Arjona has a wonderful performance. If only this came out with like twisters, basically, instead of just kind of dumped on Netflix and kind of forgotten. This is a great time. It follows a guy who kind of becomes this hitman, but not an actual hitman for the FBI or whatever. And so good. It's so funny. It's so charming. Charming is the perfect word for this movie because of the writing, because of the performances. Linklater does it again, and I need to rewatch this like right now. At number 6, I have Sing Sing. Coleman Domingo, The Actor That You Are. A fantastic group of performances in this movie, especially Clarence Macklin too, and a very touching story at the center of it, and beautiful cinematography and wonderful character work. And I mean, there's so much to say about this movie. I hope it's recognized come Oscar time. I know this also had a very weird release, but so many people need to watch this movie and just see how truly important art is and art can be into reforming yourself and just being able to be this creative outlet so that way you can do good in the world. A truly touching story that deserves to be seen by more people. In 5th place, I have Dee Dee, a great film that just captures the angst and awkwardness of being in your early teenage years. A coming of age story that's kind of similar to mid-90s, but is its own. And it's so great. I remember walking out with such a big smile on my face after seeing this movie. It's going to speak to a lot of people, especially if you're a young creative or you just grew up as a young creative. Definitely go and seek this out. Not enough people are talking about this movie, and I fear it's going to be forgotten by many, and it doesn't deserve to be and needs to be seen as soon as possible. And a great great kid performance, basically. Like, it's so worth watching just for that alone. But this is so personal, and you feel like you know the people in the movie just watching it. It needs to be seen as soon as possible, truly. At number 4, I have Saturday Night. This is probably going to be the most controversial placement of any movie on this list, as I know many people personally do not like this movie, like in the slightest. But hey, this movie's for me. I love this type of movie. It's chaotic, and it has so many lessons, and there's so many characters, and there's so much going on, and it's basically told in real time, and it's just a lot of stuff, and it has wonderful performances. Once again, Gabriel LaBelle, I'm telling you, this kid is going places, and I am so excited. I am so here for it. He already worked with Spielberg a couple years ago, so, I mean, come on. But in general, this is a great ensemble piece. Dylan O'Brien truly surprised me as Dan Aykroyd. That's a wonderful little storyline in here. But all in all, as a film, it's well edited, it's well paced, it's so snappy, and it says a lot while doing a lot, and it's just easily one of my favorites of the entire year, and I don't care if you dislike it, I like it, so that's what matters to me. It's that type of movie personally, so if you dislike it, let me know. It's fine. It's okay. And I'll tell you why you're wrong. Usually you're not wrong about opinions, but I will fight you on this. Coming in at number 3, I have Honora. This is Sean Baker's latest film, and it stars Mikey Madison in what is going to win her Best Actress come Oscar time. It's absolutely crazy how wonderful her performance and the performances of many others in this film are. There's this character named Igor in the movie, and I just love him so much. What he brings to the movie, not only as a character, but to the storylines and just everything. All around this movie, it's hilarious, it's heartbreaking, it's warm and inviting, but it also is a cautionary tale. It's so much, and it's just so Sean Baker at his peak, basically. I love the film. I'm so excited to watch this again, and I got a chance to watch this on film, and it just made it look even more beautiful. If you haven't seen this movie yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. Put some tinsel in your hair and go out and see this now. Coming in at number 2, I have Challengers. Luca Guadagnino strikes again, but this time with Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor. A wonderful trifecta of actors that translate to a wonderful trifecta of characters. A love triangle, not a love cone, is wonderfully displayed on this screen. It's stressful, it's energetic, it's fast-paced, and it's messy, and it's so many wonderful adjectives that I can't even describe them all right here, right now. It gets better with every viewing. That score is amazing. It makes you want to listen to it all and then play Mario Kart or rewatch the movie. But genuinely, the best part about this is the cinematography towards the end of the film. The final 10 to 15 minutes, Luca Guadagnino delivers some of his best directing ever. The camera work is absolutely insane. The performances are wonderful, and my goodness, if this is your number 1, I totally get it. It was pretty close for me with my number 1 and 2, and this could have been it. But either way, I love this movie. Easily one of my favorites of not only this year, but of the entire decade so far. And if you haven't seen this, kind of crazy. Truly, kind of crazy. And finally, coming in at number 1, and it stayed number 1 since early on this year, Dune Part 2. A massive, massive feat in filmmaking, something that is truly a cinematic experience for the 4 times I've watched this. Dune Part 2 is Denis Villeneuve's best film, and just, to me, the best film of the entire year. A giant space epic that is my Star Wars, and just delivers on these themes of so many things, of just blind fanaticism, which, is kind of relevant, and just how power and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and it is just so cool and sci-fi-y and beautiful to look at. Greg Fraser's cinematography in this, otherworldly, basically literally otherworldly. All the performances in here are strong. Timothée Chalamet is delivering some of his best work yet, along with Zendaya and Javier Bardem, and it's surprisingly funny too, this movie. It's not just so dramatic and uptight and diplomatic in action. It's genuinely hilarious at moments. This, to me, exemplifies what a blockbuster should be. A highbrow, big sci-fi epic that has deep themes, is hilarious, has great action, and so many wonderful characters for you to follow through. Austin Butler steals the show at times with a somewhat there Elvis accent, I'm not gonna lie. But in general, this is unbelievable how this movie was able to be made at the scale it was made, and for it to be this great too. This, to me, is the clear best picture of the entire year, and my favorite film as well. But alright, those are my thoughts on my favorite movies of 2024. Be sure to let me know what you think of them down in the comments below, and let me know your favorite movies of the entire year. But alright, as always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content. and I'll watch you later.